Hello there. You're surprised to see me. Normally it's Tom here on a Wednesday night doing the Fox's Tales. But Tom's had to take a week off. So he'll be back next week. Tonight, we've got Ally Mauchlen.
Get on your feet. Don't sleep. Play for keeps. Dig deep. Get on your feet. Don't sleep. Play for keeps. Dig deep. Got to dig deep.
Hello there, it's me again, back again. Like I say, we've got Ally Mauchlen. Now, when I first started watching Leicester in the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s, Ally Mauchlen came in and he was one of my favourite players. So I'm really looking forward to this. He joined us in '85 with in a joint deal with Gary McAllister, 350,000. Gordon Milne bought him in. He played 273 games. So in them 7 years, he didn't miss a lot of games and he scored 12 goals. He came in, like I say, came in from Motherwell. So I think we better bring him on and see what he's got to say about his time at Leicester. You all right, Ally? How are you?
Very well, thank you, Jimmy.
Are you good? How's life treating you?
Thank you. All good in this mad world that we're living in.
What's it like in sunny Leicester? Are you still living in Leicester?
I'm still living in Leicester. It's a bit overcast. It's chucked it down all day, so you're the fortunate one.
Yeah, I've had it about 30 degrees over here, but I don't want to.
All right.
They get a bit jealous, to be honest. Yeah, let's go straight into your football career with Leicester. When you joined Leicester, you came with Gary McAllister, of course. I've read somewhere that you had a choice between Leicester and Rangers. What made you choose Leicester instead of Rangers? Because you're a big fan of Glasgow Rangers, aren't you?
Well, when you're brought up in the west coast of Scotland, you're either a Protestant or a Catholic, and I was brought up in a big Protestant family. So yeah, your allegiance lies with the blue rather than the green. But I never really had a choice at the end, Jamie, because Rangers were in for me at the same time. Jock Wallace wanted to bring me in, but he had abundance of midfield players at the time, Robert Pritz and other lads in there, and he had to offload a couple of them. And we spoke regularly every Tuesday. You know, Jock had a place in Torremolinos, and
just over the water from me.
yeah. We were talking back and forward, and Peyton, the chairman, was in contact with me as well, and it was becoming very long-winded, Jamie. And Gordon Millen played a masterstroke. He flew up from Leicester, went into the Excelsior Hotel in Glasgow, invited Gary McAllister and I to go over and see him, and just gave us probably 2 hours to decide whether Leicester was the next move for us both. And if we decided against it, he was getting on the 5 o'clock plane and coming back to Leicester, and the deal was done. So very, very shrewd business by Gordon. But the Rangers thing had run for about, guessed him at 6 weeks, and I wasn't moving forward with the Rangers thing. So Gary and I had 20 minutes or so to decide whether we wanted to take the Leicester deal, and we decided to do that. So to cut a long story short, Gordon Millen gave us a 2-hour window to agree to Leicester or not. We both agreed to go.
And if one hadn't decided to go, would that be the end of the deal as well, or would one of you still come?
No, I believe so. I think Gordon was strong enough character to say, I want you both, but if you don't agree to the terms and conditions that I've got for you, when my flight goes at 5 o'clock, that's it.
Done and dusted.
So very, very clever move by Gordon.
Because Gary Mack was I keep calling him Gary Mack. I know I'm not a friend of his, but everyone calls him Gary Mack.
He wouldn't take offence to that.
Oh yeah, he was a few years younger than you, wasn't he? He was about 6 years younger than you. So
yeah, he was 19 and I was 25 when we both came down.
Were you sort of his bodyguard when he came down and looked after him a bit?
I was his bodyguard throughout his life, I think. Then when he went to Leeds, I think David Batty became his bodyguard, and so it was one of them, yeah.
So you had a pretty good time the first year. We'll jump on to the last game of the season because, like I say, I'm one of your biggest fans. I loved you when you were there. I thought you were brilliant. Your chant was so easy. It was just Ali. It was so easy. I don't know why there can't be easy chants like this. It's a three-word chant is fantastic than what they have nowadays. But coming to that last game of the season, I think it was the first season, you played Newcastle, and we had to win, didn't we?
Yeah, we won.
Stay up.
We won 2-0.
And you scored an absolutely storming goal from, I think it was just outside the box, wasn't it, if I remember rightly?
Oh, it was about 40 yards, Jamie.
You've been hanging around with the Birch too long, because that goal you see on TV all the time gets further and further back.
Yeah, just outside the box. I creamed one, and I got the first one, and then Ian Banks got the second one. But I remember the Newcastle fans, they were ripping the seats up and chucking them like flying saucers. And,
I was there, but I can't remember that bit. I remember running down the steps with my mate at the bottom of this the steward there and hugging him when you scored. I thought, I was so happy. It was untrue.
Yeah, that was a great day in the history of the football club. To get one and a win that was so instrumental in the club, surviving in the league at the time, and fantastic memories.
What was it like in the changing rooms then? Was it before the game? Was it just a bag of nerves, or did you? Oh, it's just another game, or did you have to come together?
No, I think we had a beer each.
Don't blame you. But back then, though, some managers maybe gave you a little nip of brandy now and again, didn't they?
Well, you go back to Jock Wallace. I played for Jock Wallace at Motherwell, and he had a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of brandy in the dressing room at Fir Park. I signed there in 1981 from Kilmarnock. And one of my first games, I couldn't believe there was a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of brandy sitting in a little plinth in the dressing room. And Jock was always in favour of the lads having a nip out, as he called it, a nip out the bottle. So back in the day, there was no harm in it, But it was just a bit of bonding and stuff like that. But moving forward to my Leicester days, there was nothing like that went on. After the game, we all went out in a beer and done a little bit of the pub crawl and ended up in Simpkins back in the day. But
I've got a little story about you and Gary Mack. Now you started about drinking, I might as well tell this story now.
Yeah,
you came to do our presentation night for Clare Muxlow 87 in about 88, 89. I can't remember the exact year. And I think it was on your wedding anniversary. You turned up with Gary Mack as well, which more than appreciated, turning up on your wedding anniversary. You left early, and me, Gary Mack, and my mate Nigel went to, it was called Casper's then, when you had to go downstairs in the market.
That's all Simpkins.
Yeah. And Gary Mack was buying champagne, and I was walking round with a bottle of champagne and 2 flutes trying to chat up the birds, walking round and saying, oh, this is being bought by Gary McAllister over there, making out I was a big mate of him. And then we ended up going back to his house to carry on the party. And me and my mate Nigel, I think he was in Hunkett then, I think. I'm not 100% sure. It was 22 years ago. So, and then the next morning I woke up and I didn't know where the bloody hell I was.
Yeah, he did live in Hunkett. You're right.
But yeah, it was a very enjoyable night from what I remember of it.
I tell you what, you must have enjoyed it, because I've never known Gary Mack buy champagne in my life.
Oh, we did. There was champagne there. There definitely was champagne there. I know I didn't buy it because I didn't have enough money at them days to buy it. But going on to a few years again, the Oxford game, another last game of the season, when just before, because if we'd gone down, that would have been the first time would have gone down into Division 3.
Yeah.
I was there, and they had the old transistor radios. It wasn't like the internet now. You can fly on the internet and get every result. What was it like playing in that game? Because that must have been worse than the Newcastle game. The pressure must have been horrendous.
It was the build up, the week build up to that game, trying to keep the players, calm, collected, just try and follow a routine that's part and parcel every week training. But I was on the coaching staff then, because Pleaty got the sack, didn't he? And I was with Gordon Lee and Bobby Roberts, and they promoted me, so I was actually player, captain, and first team coach. So the responsibility that you feel on your shoulders just kept going. But on the day, it was just unbelievable, because we knew the stakes were so high. And to just sneak it with Tony James, getting as a winner. And I think West Brom draw?
I think they drew with Bristol Rovers, didn't they?
I think they drew. But, do you know when you were standing on the pitch and you went to take a throw in? I don't know whether folk were more interested in our game or having earphones in listening to the West Brom game. Because every time you turn round to get the ball out the crowd, everybody was standing with the earphones and listening to games round the country.
Yeah.
So,
I had a couple of people with radios in the back, and you could hear them. It's 1-0. They've had a sent off, and somebody's missed a penalty, and you didn't know whether you were coming or going, to be honest. And it was only when the final scores came and you realised what was going on.
Yeah, it was a bizarre situation, because I don't know how many were at the game that day. I think it was 19,000 or something like that.
It was a full house near enough.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like playing at Filbert Street in general, with the crowd being right on top of you?
I loved it. I'm not being detrimental or disrespectful. We've got to move on with the times, and the King Power is an amazing place. But as far as atmosphere goes, you know, I love Filbert Street. You know, I call it my home. You know, when I come down here, that's where I started. That's where I finished. And you've got a loyalty to some places, and the ground for me, it was old school. You look back, you look at the design when you walk into King Power. They've got the old Filbert Street Stadium done in matchsticks there, and you look back and you think, Jesus, what was all the fuss about? But you know, that was our era, and we loved it. And you know, it was just a fantastic place.
Talking of games, Locks has asked off YouTube, what was your favourite match for Leicester? Surely it's not be the Oxford game, will it? Or would it be?
Do you know what, Jamie? Sometimes you hype games up for different reasons. And you always remember your debut. My debut, or part of my debut, was a nightmare because we went to Oxford on Wednesday night and get beat. Was it 5-1? I think. And Gordon Millen, 20 minutes to go, we're losing 5, and Gordon said to me, I'm going to put you on for the last 20 minutes. And I looked at him and said, thanks, boss. That's a good introduction for me. But
were you trying to go like that? No, I'm not trying to. Don't get eye contact. I don't fancy this. Yeah, I
know, but you know, and that 20 minutes when I went on, he's obviously seen enough in that 20 minutes. They started me against the Arsenal down at Highbury the Saturday. And what a place to make your debut. You know, Tony Woodcock done us for 1-0. But you know, what a fantastic place to start your Leicester career properly. Sub, you know, getting the 90 minutes under your belt. You know,
I mean,
at the Arsenal.
You started off as a midfield player, but I can't remember who moved you back to fullback.
Right back.
You seem to revel in that position more than you were at fullback, it seemed.
I'm glad you said that, Jamie, because you know I was a centre mid all my life. You know, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, Leicester to start with. And then Mr. Pleat, David Pleat, said to me one day in training, he said, "You know what, Ali, I'm going to put you right back." And I looked at him. I thought he'd lost his marbles. I thought you've gone mad. And he said, "You know what? I've looked at you, and you get caught up in all the fracas in the midfield, and you want to go in and get aggressive and stuff like that." He said, "I think it'd suit you. Let the game come on to you. Read the game a little bit better and stuff like that." And you know what, Jamie? I'll put my hand in my heart, mate. It was the best two years of my life at right back. Oh, for sure, because Andy Roxburgh came in to look at Scotland. Man City came in 3 times. Chelsea came in twice. Rangers came back again. And I just thought, you know, as much as the Leicester fans didn't have a great affinity with David Pleat, you know, with his time there, he's definitely one of the most knowledgeable guys that I've ever worked with and for.
There's a question here. I don't know whether this is any relation to you. Oh, wrong one, sorry. Ian, where's it gone? There we are. Ian Mauchlen. Is that any relation to you?
That's my son.
Oh, is it? Well, he's watching on YouTube. He said he's asking best player played with at Leicester.
Yeah, it's a strange one because everybody thinks I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and say Gary Mack, but Gary Mack was 19, and I'll stand by my comments tonight with you, Jamie, and the listening public. Gary was 19 and a fabulous football player. He had a career that, you know, beggar belief, you know, of ending up at Liverpool and playing all these games for Scotland and stuff like that. But you got to remember he was only 19 when we started, so he was still learning the ropes. But Ian Wilson, Russell Osman, you know, people like that who were mature players then. You know, Russell had played for England, Ipswich in Europe, and went to Southampton. Ian Wilson went to Everton and then played for Scotland. So, no, there was some great talent, you know, and I reiterate what I said. You know, a lot of folk will think I'll say Gary McAllister, but, you know, he was a young lad, a great talent, great future ahead of him, but there was seasoned pros that I played with at Leicester that were probably better at that time. So, you know, I've just mentioned two, Russell Osman and Ian Wilson, but as he matured, as this guy matured, an absolute nutcase, and he should have been in your show, Walshy was sublime.
Oh, he's back. Yeah, we've had a lot of players on from that time have said it was just Mr. Leicester City. It was just that. He was just an awesome player.
Jim, it wasn't just that. You know, it was an old-fashioned, rugged centre half who you just terrorised centre forwards. But you know what? An hour of need, or the last 10, 15 minutes of games when we were trying to nick something, he'd go up front and play as a centre forward, and it could be like Mark Hughes or an old fashioned. He just terrorised centre half, so he could do. It gives centre forwards nightmares, but it gives centre halves a torrid time when it up top. So he could do both, Walshy.
I think because he knew when he went up top, he knew how to be handled, so he gave some of it out as well, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. And you see him in training as well. We used to play in training 5-a-sides, outdoors on the grass and inside on the AstroTurf and that. I tell you what, he's a decent finisher. He's a decent left peg on him, Walshy.
Yeah.
And he could get his head on a lot of stuff. So, listen, he's mad as a March here, but what a good player he was.
Talking of hard men, Andy Medhurst has wrong one. I keep pressing the wrong one. Sorry. Andy Medhurst has. Who was the hardest player? Sorry, Matt asked who's the hardest player, but who did you enjoy playing against the most as well?
I enjoyed playing against Strachan because I knew I had him in my pocket because he was terrified of me. He was up in Scotland at Aberdeen, and when I came down to Leicester and stuff like that. And when I used to look at him in the tunnel walking out, where I was at Leeds or whatever, he used to look across at me, and I could actually see the colour draining out his face. And I can't remember who the manager was, but I played right back at the time, as you aforementioned, and we played Leeds, and the manager said to me, "I'm going to move you to left back today," and I said, "Left back? I can't even stand on my left foot, never mind playing with my left peg." And he said, "I just want you to take care of Strachan." And I had 90 minutes and just terrorised them.
Wasn't the one where we won 4-3, was it?
Yeah, Pena came on and scored 2.
Yeah, Paul Ramsey. Yeah.
I think Strachan scored a penalty against Martin Hodge. He put his hand on the ball, took his hand off the ball and dinked it before he took a step back. And Strachan, I used to, as good as he was, I just felt as if the intimidation factor, I had him where I wanted him.
Always in your back pocket after the end of the game. When he picked up his shorts and took them off, he dropped out, did he?
Well.
I think you've already answered this one, but at the time at Leicester, would you say Gary Mack was the most skillful player that you've played with? Would he be the most skillful one you've played with?
Yeah, up there.
Yeah.
You got to remember, for a very short period of time, Laurie Cunningham came to the club.
Yes, forgot about him. Yeah.
What that guy done in training was phenomenal. I just stood there in awe of this guy. We'd do training exercises and he'd do stuff, and I just thought, what is going on here? And these kids are doing it all day now. These kids that are growing up, they're just magicians with the ball now. They can make the ball talk. But, back in the day when we were just football players, just doing basic football stuff and trying to make the best of a career, Laurie Cunningham came to Beaver Drive, and I just saw him do things on a ball that I just beggar belief.
I think his first game was against Man U when he won 3-0 or something. I think it was.
Yeah, you're testing my memory now, Jimmy.
Oh, I'm a bit of a. You ask the rest of the content team on it. I'm a bit of a stats me. I sort of like my stats and that. Here's one from Teresa Chambers. What manager would you play for now or in the past? Is there anybody you'd love to play for now or would have liked to have played for back in the day?
I think Sir Alex Ferguson. I knew Sir Alex very well because when I was at Motherwell, he was at Aberdeen, and Jock Wallace and him were very, very close. He actually come and done a speech for Jock down at Filbert Street, and I look at the Man United situation. I know there's a lot of folk falling out with him and hold a grudge against him, Roy Keane to be one and other people, but I just think Sir Alex, epitomises football in my generation. I'm quite sure there's a lot of modern day managers that I'd like to get into their heads and see how they interpret football. But me being old school, going back into the day of Jock Wallace and the Sir Alex Ferguson's, I think Sir Alex would have. I think I'd have liked to have sat in his dressing room and listened to him and see how he conducted his team talks.
Yeah, talking of old school, how do you think you'd have got on playing nowadays? Would you have fitted in the way your style?
I don't think the game accommodates people like me anymore.
So you'd probably last about 10 minutes with then a red card.
8.5. I just think, Jamie, being honest, I think the game has changed drastically. And a combative midfield player. Who do we call a combative midfield player anymore? Chowdhury, Is that in a Leicester shirt? Is that as good as it gets? Wilfred and Ndidi? Is that
Probably,
combative field player? But they can't tackle.
No, well, yeah.
They run around, intercepting passes, and and trying to break things down. But there's no physical contact. There's no 50-50s. There's no. Yeah, I think a combative midfield player is something that is long gone out of the modern day game.
Yeah, it's unfortunately you can't put a boot in or anything. I mean, you used to love a good tackle, didn't you? In centre mid or right or fullback, you used to not
Jamie,
leave the boot in, but you used to be one of them. I remember that all the time.
Jamie, if
Yard tackles.
you were to watch videos of the way I played and the way I tackled and the competitive instinct I had, there's just no place for it in the modern day game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, when I started going, my first game was like 79, 80 in Leicester. It was 4-4-2, and that was the only way you ever played football. 4-4-2, big man, small man up top, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's
two fullbacks that never crossed the halfway line.
Yeah, pick a number out of that, and that's the way it goes, isn't it? 5-3-2-1 or 5.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an absolute nightmare the way they try and pick the teams out today. But going back to your days in Leicester, we had a bit of a conversation earlier about drinking. Who was the biggest drinker at the time when you were there? And in 7 years, you must have had something like a Wednesday club or a Thursday club.
Well, the Wednesday club, we're never the Thursday club, Jamie.
Oh, too short a time, isn't it?
That was taboo. Wednesday at midnight, leaving Casper's or Simpkins, that was for the Saturday. But biggest drinker, but I tell you what, there's one guy springs to mind, and it might surprise you because he only drank Premier Lager back then, and we all thought, what's Premier Lager? Like your Peronis, your San Miguel's, and your Stella's now. Back in the day, a lager was a lager, but this guy only drank Premier Lager. Steve Moran, signing for Southampton, centre forward.
Yeah, remember him well.
Great lad.
Didn't have too long here, but yeah, remember him well.
Yeah, absolute diamond. You couldn't meet a nicer guy. But yeah, he could tuck two lagers, one in his left hand, one in his right hand. He'd have 2 full pints. You go to the bar and say, Steve, do you want another one? Yeah, get me one. And he'd just move one on. And it was a Premier Lager only. I remember going to a barbecue over Burbage Way. And we ran out of drink, and his missus went up the shop and come back with Heineken or Carling. He chucked it over the fence. He said, I ain't drinking that.
What a waste. I bet you jumped over fence, didn't you?
It was in the boot of my car. I took it home.
So every penny counts, especially nowadays. So I think you played altogether. I had a quick check today that you played under 5 managers altogether at Leicester. That's including Brian Little. I know you didn't have much time with him.
Brian Hamilton, David Pleat, and then Brian Little gone. Yeah, 5.
Yeah. Which one did you enjoy playing with the most and get on the best with? Were they both the same person or differently?
I can eliminate 2 straight away. I didn't see eye to eye with and couldn't get their ethos on the game. So I'm going to go with Gordon Milne or David Pleat.
Right. Gordon Milne was good because you. Oh no, you didn't have Gary Lineker with you. He left as you turned up, didn't he?
He left in June. He went to Everton in June, and they used some of that money to bring Gary and I in the August.
Well, at least we got something decent out of his money going then, didn't we? That was one good thing about it.
What are you going to say, Gary Mack?
Nah, I've just remembered a story now about you just saying about Gary Mack again, and you saying how he started slowly. I remember my dad took me to watch him against Hull Reserves. I think it was the Central League back then. I think it was. And my dad thought he knew a bit about football. And I remember saying, I think he was wearing number 4, and he says, that number 4, Gary McAllister, never make it in the game. And I keep reminding him about that all the time. It was a reserve game against Hull. And he said, oh, that number 4, McAllister, he'll never make it. Yeah. How wrong my dad was, and I keep reminding him all the time.
And you should.
Yes, I do. We're just about to wrap it up now. What are you doing now? Are you still in football, or are you coaching, or what's actually occurring with yourself?
I gave up the coaching thing. I done loads. I went, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, Leicester, Hearts, and then I went to Ireland, done Glenavon, Ballymena, came back, done Leicester United, Rugby Town, Oadby Town, Barrow-upon-Soar, played in the Sky Masters till I was 50, done a bit of coaching. Now working back at the football club and an ambassador role. I do hosting of the Legends Lounge and Q&As, interviews, and just bits and bobs. So the club have been good to me. You know, there's 4 or 5 of us still heavily involved with the club, and it's been great.
Yeah, they do like bringing the ex-players in, don't they? Them doing the is it the Legends Lounge or something like that?
You nearly made a faux pas there. You said the old players, then you changed it to Legends, didn't you?
Yeah, I was close. Because I'm getting in that bracket now as well. I'm creeping up to being that same age range. So yeah, so I quickly changed it to ex-players.
Yeah.
I have to be careful what I say. But yeah, so where were you? Were you working for the club when we won the league?
Yes.
Oh, you're still there? And was it a good day against Everton?
It was unbelievable. I tell you, I brought my eldest brother and his wife and his grandson down, and it was just a phenomenal day. A phenomenal day. I never ever thought I'd see anything like that in my lifetime at Leicester, and it was a day to remember forever.
I know. I was bawling my eyes out. Being a big Leicester fan, whatever happens, Leicester going down, going up, winning, whatever. I was bawling my eyes out when we lifted the trophy. I couldn't believe it. It was one of them that will stick with me for absolutely ever. But actually working there, it must being part of the club. Did you actually think, oh, I'm actually part of the club, and I was quite proud of the club when they won it?
I think so. I think being an ex-player as well, you know, because, you know, it just feels as if it's in your genes, Jamie, when you've been part of the club for so long.
Yeah.
And I just think, you know, this is our club. This is my club, you know, for the fans, for the community, and it just epitomised everything that, you know, Leicester City fans, you know, just could not believe what happened.
No one could. On the last, I know I said that was going to be, but this is the last question from David Gavin. He's in Ireland. Would you consider Gary McAllister to be one of the best free kick takers, or is there anybody better than him at the time?
I think, you know, when he puts his laces through the ball, you know, Gary's got a saying that he always thinks left-footed players look more cultured than right-footed players. And if you look at all the left-footed players, just think this through his mindset.
Yeah.
They always look a bit more cultured. And Gary stands by that. But when you see him taking free kicks, corners, and, you know, and hitting 30, 40, 50-yard passes, there's no better striker of the ball than him.
Yeah, he was pretty decent. I mean, I remember a couple of his free kicks. One against Liverpool in 1989, I think it was. We beat them 2-1, I think.
Yeah, I think we up until I can't remember now. I'm getting mixed up with the Man U game, because we were the last team to beat Man U for about 13, 14, 15 years, and that until we beat them at the King Power. So yeah, you've been the statistician. You'll know better than me. But yeah, great striker of the ball, Jamie.
The only reason I know, I'm sure it's the Liverpool game, because Russell Osman also scored, because we had Russell Osman on about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we were talking to him about it as well. And I'm sure he scored a free kick that game as well.
Yeah, another great striker of the ball.
Yeah.
And he could go left and right. You know.
Oh, could he?
A centre half back then, unheard of. They were one-footed, like most of it were. But Russell came to the club from Southampton, and when he joined, I'd never seen a centre half coming out and go left and right and ping it off the laces. And Gary developed that as he matured as well.
Yeah, but Russell Osman had 6 weeks training with Pelly, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. The film.
We couldn't stop him talking about that when he was on. Right, Ale, I'm going to call that quits. It's been much appreciated you coming on. Thank you for doing it. I know it's short notice.
Not a problem.
You can text your old booker, Stevie Welsh, and say, I had to fill in for you.
As always.
All right then, Ale. It's been really much appreciated. Thanks a lot, pal. And we'll speak to you again soon.
No problem, Jamie. Enjoy the sunshine.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Ta-ra.
Well, there you go. Another fantastic show. Ally Mauchlen, absolutely brilliant. Part of my lifetime, my early school days. Then I absolutely loved him as a player. It's been great. And Tom, we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching the show. And even more better news, I'm back on Sunday on the Foxes Aftermath show. So come and watch me at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. You'll love it. Back to the best time slot yet. Cheers all. See you later. Thanks for watching. Adios.
Get on your feet.